Hello everyone, if anyone is watching, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome, and if you're not, welcome back. Today isn't really like an actual video, as you can tell. It's an assignment for one of my classes, so yeah, we'll go to Past Me for that. Okay, so here we are at my little podcast, and I'm here with my two friends who are also musicians. And we're going to talk about practicing, keeping motivation, and what to do if you inevitably lose motivation.
Basically, ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to one simple thing. Whenever you lose motivation, remember that the project is still due.
Yes, exactly. You have to get those hours in somehow, or else you will feel even worse about yourself when your grade goes down in your lessons. So just do them.
Now, but jokes aside, it really comes down to balance and time management. Basically, once you've received an assignment, schedule out a specific time that you're going to have it completed. That way, you know exactly when, how, and where you're going to get the assignment done, and it becomes a little, not much, but a little bit less stressful when you actually decide to get it completed.
Yes. Yeah, like Darren said, just like balancing your time, because obviously you still have other assignments that you'll need to do, but practicing is still important because how else are you gonna get better? You really just like need to practice and be able to make that time in your schedule, because not everyone's gonna need the time to practice, but you do. So that's just the thing that you have to take into consideration when you're looking at due dates for assignments and, you know, do I still have time to practice at the end of this hectic schedule because we're all taking 10 plus classes. What about for the students that aren't music majors and are still in school?
So you mean everybody else on campus?
No, I mean like grade school.
Oh, grade school.
Yeah.
Beat up the biggest person in the yard. Then they'll think you're clinically insane and stay away from you.
You see,
No, wait a minute. No, that's prison. Only if you let it be.
in all seriousness though, y'all have so much more time on your hands. So just do it. Your phone's still gonna be there. Anything that you wanted, like a toy or social media, that's still gonna be there when you're done practicing. So just get it over with, honestly, so that way you're able to improve, because if you get good enough, they give you money to do it in the future, and money's good.
Hey, football players, take notes. They're gonna pay you billions to kick that ball.
Full scholarships right there.
All right.
Oh, full
All right,
ride.
but jokes aside, and to translate from the thing your mother probably would have said while you were on Overwatch. Jokes aside, it's actually, I think something that helped me when I was in high school was I found a time where I was doing absolutely nothing. Now, I'm not going to say to have your work cut into other things or to take away from the life that you actually have to live, but I find a lot of times we have all this stuff due, but we still somehow find ourselves very bored. So what I like to do is I like to locate when in the day I'm going to find myself doing absolutely nothing and fill that time up with the work that I have to get done.
One thing that I did when I was in high school was, once again, find time when I'm doing nothing, and I would use that time to practice because I did have times when I was doing nothing. And I took every opportunity that I could when I was in high school. So like I joined Tri-M and I got a chair position, so then I was like in a leadership position in the Music Honor Society at my school. And just like I did jazz after school, which gave me more to do because I was one of those students that did want more in my program. So yeah, I just took every opportunity that my director gave to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, take hers with a grain of salt because she was also practicing 26 hours a day.
I did play 2 instruments. I know that you did theater and
Yes.
choir, so what did you do to keep practicing and improving?
Well, the thing is, I didn't really start playing instruments until my senior year of high school, where I taught myself, well, I learned it in class, but I taught myself a lot of songs on piano, just chords. But what I would do was I would take time during lunch, which was the only free time I had during the day, or I took time during my study hall to go down to the music wing and just get some hours in. Because when I had rehearsals after school and classes going on throughout the day, I was having a hard time finding time at home. So, like they said, finding time in your schedule whenever you can, and when you don't have time, just reviewing it in the class, like just looking over your music during downtime helped me a lot. And I, like Isabella, I was also a part of Tri-M, but I wasn't a leadership position. Our school didn't have that. What our school did have was all state opportunities for choir in all region, which I took full advantage of, which
All
were
regionals.
even, oh gosh, regions, yay. But those days were even longer with extra material, so those tips definitely helped me, just finding time when you had it.
Another thing I want to talk about is keeping motivation when you see that someone clearly has more skill or ability than you, because music is very competitive. So if either of you would like to start first, you can, or I'll go first.
But I do because, let's be honest, there's a lot of people better than I. It's actually quite terrifying how many people have beaten me by a mile. So, because that seems to be a wide variety of fuel, instead of using it as a roadblock to stop motivation, I use this unlimited source of fuel as the motivation to keep myself getting better. Well, as soon as I find somebody that is miles and miles away ahead of me, I say, hey, I'm gonna see what he's doing, or she. I'm gonna see what they're up to, how they're practicing, what they're doing, and I'm gonna try and be like that. Then once you will surpass them, but once you've done that, find the next person. Because there's about 8.3 to 10.9 billion people on Earth. Odds are at least one of them is better than you at something. So find whatever they're doing and copy in a way how they're doing, fit it into your schedule somehow. And once you've surpassed them, just continue doing that, and you'll eventually keep finding yourself increasing in skill and talent.
I kind of look at it similarly, but also kind of different. So with singing and theater, I grew up very close to New York. So knowing how much competition was in my area, I knew I had to step it up whenever I would go out to do auditions for choirs or for shows or anything like that. So the one thing I always did was I just would obviously just keep practicing and telling myself, hey, this is the best we can do, and can we do better? What can we do better? Let's record ourselves singing the song. Okay, what can I improve in my intonation? What can I improve with posture? Do I need to improve how my face looks? Because sometimes for theater, it's expression that they're looking for, as well as your vocal quality. So stuff like that really kind of helped me. Then just having people to look up to was a big thing for me. Those people who I thought were better, I would talk to them, and I became friends with a lot of them, and they would also give me tips. And then one day they would come, because a lot of them were in my high school, they'd come back and they're like, wow, you've really improved. And it really meant a lot to me. But there is always a fail-safe when this happens in your life, and you just can't get that motivation. It's called crying, and it helps. I've done it before. It's a short-term solution, but it makes it better sometimes. Sometimes. Practice is always key, though. Do not think that practice isn't key. You better practice. You must practice.
Also, another thing you could do is, in addition to practice and finding other people that are better than you, which, once again, unlimited fuel source, is also, if possible, use the people who have exceeded you as mentors, not just as fuel for motivation. But this is actually a funny story. This one doesn't have anything to do with practice or anything for school, but a side hustle I started with ping pong. So I walked in first semester. I was absolutely terrible at ping pong. Didn't know how to hold the paddle. Was always hitting it off the field. I could not learn how to do it, and I was convinced that I was just gonna walk around campus.
Okay, we took a short intermission, but we're going back to the ping pong story.
Okay, so where did I leave off? Oh
You
yeah,
were walking
Pick up
around
the
the
I was
school.
walking around the school. I was absolutely down on myself. I thought I was gonna be the worst ping pong player on campus till I left campus. So what I did was I found someone not a lot better than me. I used a lot better at me person as the motivation. What I did was I found someone who was a little bit better than me. Shout out Anthony. Found somebody who was a little bit better than me. Oh, shout out Anthony and Austin. Love you, brothers. Found somebody who was a little bit better than me and used them as a mentor and somebody who I could strive to surpass. You know, they were usually around the ping pong table, so I'd start learning tricks, start learning techniques that they use, start learning strategies, learning different moves and skill sets. And then in addition to practicing, I'd always come back and see how well I'd been improving or not improving against how I played against them, which is how I eventually came to be a little bit better until eventually, after a semester went by, I was actually fairly good at the game. So, use somebody who's a lot better than you as the motivation, as the goal to beat. Use somebody a little bit better than you as the steps you're taking on how to get there.
This method works. He's won bets. He has gotten free food from this. This method works.
Free Shamrock Shakes! Sorry, Caleb. Love you, brother.
Whenever I would see someone that was a lot better than me, even if I would like get kind of down, I wouldn't really use that as like the end all be all, because once again, I know that with enough effort and hard work, you will be able to get better. And there's always like something that you might be slightly better at, or that comes more naturally to you than it does to the other person. Like, I know for me with music, I'm always very good at like expressive pieces, and I'm not very good at fast passages at all. But then there are other people where they can play fast all day, but like the second they have to do a slower piece, it just does not work. And that's like the funny thing with music that happens with a lot of people, where it's like they can do the fast songs and not the slow songs, but obviously that's like not everyone, and that just means that you have to focus more in the area that doesn't come as naturally to you as it does the areas that do come naturally. So we're gonna do some practice horror stories, or just like even little funny things that have happened as we've practiced. So, you know, just like things that'll keep your practicing interesting, good or bad.
Good or bad?
Good or bad.
Good or bad. So, the one thing that I sometimes hate about our practice rooms is not that some of them are very stuffy, which is one of the complaints, but it's that no one reads the little signs, and I'm guilty of this.
No, everything is
the signs.
opposite.
Yes.
The signs that say in use are the ones that are open, and then the ones that say vacant are the ones that have people in them.
And one day I walked in on Allie, and I went to the practice rooms 3 different times in one day, and Allie, which is she's in choir with me. She was in each of the rooms that I went in. And then for the next day, I was in the practice room like twice. Both times I was there, she opened the door on me. And I was like, that's ironic. And she's like, oh yeah, that is kind of weird. But those signs are like my absolute pet peeves. Like sometimes I have to listen to make sure that the sound isn't coming from that room before I open the door.
Oh yeah, and
It's
then
bad.
you're like standing outside of the practice room like this.
Oh yeah. Like you look weird, but like other music majors understand why you're doing it. But like to the non-music majors, they're just like, are they okay? And the answer is always no.
No, they ain't.
But that's a different story.
They join the Music Ed program. They gotta be clinically insane.
music
already
in
know.
general. Music in general.
One thing that has happened to me, this was when I was in middle school, and it was right when I had moved to Massachusetts. So I was like in a new place. I think we had only been there for about a month, so we weren't very well established with like the music shop that was there. And I put my violin and my bow down so I could go grab water, and I hear something fall on the ground and a snap, and then I turn around and my bow is in two pieces on the floor. So $300 down the drain. That was very scary, and we went to that music store because it was the day of my lesson, and I walked in with the bow in two pieces, and they said it couldn't be repaired, and well, it could, but it wasn't worth it. So I got a new bow, and I haven't broken that one, so that's good.
One thing to remember when you guys are practicing. Practice as if you are the absolute worst, but perform as if you're the absolute best. An instrument that best describes this is my experience with the trombone. See, I didn't even tell a story, you already got laughs. You already got kicks and giggles and
It's
whatnot.
because I'm in the same class. I get it.
I hear their stories. I can attest.
So, music is one of a few things that I find interesting, find really good, and it's one of the things that comes generally easy to me. Granted, this is not to be disregarded, and this is not to be something that replaces practice. Talent does not take the place of the hard work and dedication, but music is something that I'm willing to spend a bit more time on, and something that comes a bit more interesting to me. However, God have mercy on us all. I had a course over this semester called Brass Class.
2.
Brass Class 2.
Low brass.
It was terrible. I picked up, now, I'm what you'd consider a woodwind instrumentalist. A piano, my main instruments are piano and saxophone. I play others, but the main two you'll see me playing are the piano and that saxophone. We're trying to get this money, that's funny though. So, I have no experience with any brass type instruments. So I'm looking at this thing like, what on earth do you want me to do with this thing? What, am I supposed to smoke this?
I can vouch for this.
Now, the worst part about trying to learn trombone is that there aren't notes. With a saxophone or a piano, there's a C note, a D note, an E note, there's a certain spot where you have to go, which will give you one sound. When you're playing trombone, you've got to be in a certain position, and you may get the right sound, and you may be flat, maybe sharp. It's terrible. So, needless to say, this was one of those things where I couldn't rely on just basic ability. This was one of the things I had to put more dedication and work into, and I sucked at it. It was a full semester of it was terrible. Now, there's some points in the semester where I'm just thinking, why do I need to learn trombone? I've already done that. What more do you need from me, bro? But eventually, throughout the dedication, throughout the practice, and throughout remembering that I was going to need to take a lot of time to improve, and remembering that I wasn't really good at this, but using that to get better, I eventually did become fairly good at the trombone. Still hate it with every bone in my woodwind body, but it eventually does get better, and you eventually do improve with whatever you're trying to pursue.
Yes, as I've mentioned, am also in that class, and it sucked because my main instrument is violin, and then the other instrument that I play that I'm not required to play by the school is flute. So I had no experience with brass whatsoever, and I show up, and I also had no idea what to do. We were both struggling together. Keep in mind there was a brass player in our class. We love you, Kevin, but still.
We do love you, Kevin. You're Superman.
And I could not get high notes out to save my life. I mean, I still can't get the really high notes out, but like we're working on it. I've gotten like another 2 or 3 partials out consistently. Yeah, but it's rough. but if you put in the time, you eventually get better.
A quick note to all you guys who are exiting high school. If you see a grown man or woman making the noises like they're on a grown Gerber baby commercial, send them your condolences, because who knows? They might have just exited out of a trombone class.
Yes, we would stand across. We would stand across our last class, basically doing that to each other so that we could get our buzzes good.
Help me!
I played euphonium for a year. I can attest the buzzing is a very weird sensation to get used to at first, which is why I slightly laughed at you guys trying to get it right.
Yeah.
But
Wait, you played euphonium?
for 1 year in 5th grade.
How did you carry that thing to class? I mean, no
I
disrespect, but
didn't.
that thing is double your size.
This is another funny horror story about how the euphonium gave me scoliosis. Okay, so I was in 4th grade, and the band teacher at our school, she always came, and she did like a little presentation for all the 4th going into 5th grade so they can join band. And the big perk about band is you got to go to Dorney Park every year to do the High Note Festival. And you got to do it with choir too. So I should have stuck with choir the whole time, but no. Little me wanted to try an instrument. And I see her bring out this thing that looks like a tuba. And of course, little me wanting to be all interesting was like, I want to play the tuba. And she's like, well, that's called euphonium. It's not a tuba. And I'm like, I still want to play it. The thing was half my height, and I haven't really grown since then. So it's still half my height. And I had to carry it from the front door, which is, let's just say that there's a little ramp by where the chapel is. It's from the chapel all the way to the choir room in Capisi. If not more, taking the long way. It was a long hallway to get to the end of the building, and then I had to hoist it up into this cabinet, and I loved playing it. I really did enjoy band. I didn't enjoy the early morning rehearsals because we did 7 a.m. rehearsals, and when I was younger, I was not a morning person. But that's besides the point. Anyways, my back began to feel really weird. I was developing back problems already in 4th grade because my teacher made us bring home giant textbooks for some reason. And the doctor said, are you still lifting heavy things? And I was like, yes, I am. It's my euphonium. And he's like, you're on the path to getting scoliosis. Stop playing or else your back is going to be permanently messed up. And I stopped playing and I quit band because I would have had to have jumped in with a new instrument at the skill level that all the kids from the previous year were at. So it just wasn't worth it. And that's one of my biggest regrets. I wish the card had wheels. So that way I'd have another thing besides just singing.
You heard it straight from the horse's mouth, ladies and gentlemen. Invest in wheels.
Wheelie backpacks save your life.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is what all of us plan on doing post-college, because we're music eds, so we obviously have plans to educate, hopefully.
If this college doesn't try and kill us first.
I'll go first. I want to teach high school orchestra.
I'd like to stay alive. That's a starters. So I'm praying to God. He's hoping. But I'd also like to teach at a high school or maybe elementary school level. Middle schoolers are the spawn of the devil.
Amen.
From me being one, I can tell you firsthand, middle schoolers are some evil,
Amen to that.
some evil spawn.
No offense to the middle
No offense
schoolers
to the
that
middle-
may be
No offense to them.
watching.
We-
No offense to the middle schoolers.
You guys are just in a really awkward time, which is also why I do not want to teach middle school if I can help it. Highest I'll go is 5th grade. I want to teach either elementary or high school choir.
Also, after I've gotten set up, doing a couple of gigs, hopefully performing for people, because that's what all musicians want to do. They want to perform, they want to provide their abilities, they want to give back to their communities. But after I've gotten set up with the education and the performing, I'd also like to try and go into music therapy. I think we all came to a certain point, either in middle school or in high school, where we blinked and we really realized what everyone was going through. Like, I don't really have any mental illnesses per se, but I remember going into high school, I blinked and everybody had something. ADD, ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety, you name it, somebody had it. And I didn't have the mathematical skills to become an actual doctor, but I could play that piano. So I figured, why not use what I'm good at to sort of give back to the people that were struggling when I was going through. Because, I could be in a room with 1 million people and performing for hundreds of million people. I'd be like the music Mr. Beast, but I really don't hold the candle to saving one life. You understand?
That is a wonderful way of putting it.
And that's really like not a
No disrespect to Mr. Beast. Love your channel, brother.
that's really not like a super common field that you'll see people go into. So if you're in high school and you want to do music, maybe look into music therapy. Really, one of the things I'd say to students who maybe want to do any music major really, is if you feel like you can see yourself doing music and nothing else, like literally nothing else, then you should go with music because it is a lot of work. It's really difficult. A lot of practice hours.
Lots of practice hours.
Lots of practice hours, lots of classes, but all of us have this passion for music and we can't really see ourselves doing anything else. It's like we want to do music and nothing else, so
And
it's worth it for us.
Sorry, Isabel. And to add to that, really make sure it's what you want to do. We had a lot of kids come in our freshman class wanting to do music, and they all dropped out by the second semester.
And it's really expensive.
It is. It's expensive to switch your major. And also, when it comes to music, you really need to be dedicated. And you need to know your stuff going in. So if you're just in choir and you don't know anything about theory, teach yourself over the summer because you're going to need it.
Yes,
I learned
please
that the
learn
very
theory.
hard way.
Learn theory.
Please
Learn theory.
While you're young. There's a bunch of, this isn't going to cost you anything. I mean, it might cost you something, but there's a bunch of free, won't cost you a cent YouTube videos that will love to teach you some music theory. So get those in while you're young because eventually they're going to start making you pay for classes and you got to know what you're doing.
Another free resource, musictheory.net, has some great pre-made lessons that got me a majority of my beginner theory coming into college. Great resource. I can't highly recommend it.
This is the music ed plug right here.
This is the music ed plug because my music teacher showed me this site.
Well,
Shout
we're
out
not
to
really
my
the plug,
art
we're like
teachers.
the aux cord.
Yeah.
We are. We're the aux cord.
Also, if you're going into music, try and balance it with some other sub-profession. I know a lot of people want to be like the next big rock stars, the next big Drizzy Drakes, the next Kendrick Lamars, Taylor Swifts, Billy Joel, you name it. They see themselves on the big stage, but a lot of people, myself included for a little bit, didn't really plan afterward. So that's why I'm going into music education, so I can still do all these wonderful performances and all this big stardom stuff, but also have a firm foundation and have something that I can provide to people while still being able to provide for myself and for the people that I might be taking care of later.
That is true. My story from my cousin has been working in New York as an actress, and although she doesn't sing, theater life and music life are very close. Just give or take theory. She told me when I was really young, and I told her I want to do musical theater for a living. And she looked at me and she's like, "Are you okay with working 5 to 6 jobs just to make it to your next gig? Are you okay with not having job stability for a while? Are you okay with having to constantly go and put yourself out there only to be rejected a million times before you get your yes?" So that's it's true. Like, you really do have to put thought into what you're going to do when you go into music, because not everyone is going to make it big, unfortunately. But as long as you're loving what you're doing, that supplements a bit of it. But income, and it's sad to say this, but in the world that we live in now, it's like inflation and everything. You really need to make sure that you have security in what you're doing. So definitely, when you're going into music, consider that as well.
It's also okay to have a passion outside of music. So don't feel guilty about that. You can enjoy other things besides music. Like one of my passions is video editing, so it's not just music. And you don't have to, do music as a career if you're like good at music. You're allowed to go into another profession. Nobody's stopping you.
Also, if you'd like, tie in the two together. I was mentioning music education earlier. I love music, but I also like teaching kids, making sure that they've got a fresh start, making sure they got the right foundation. So you can like multiple things, and if you know how to, you can even intertwine them to create something bigger.
Yeah, I was gonna say, also, side hustles are a thing. Woo. Your little hobbies can become little side hustles, and those little side hustles can make you money.
DQ.
Money. No, but seriously, those hobbies are also gonna distract you from any stress that you are feeling from the music. For example, I picked up crocheting this past semester, and I have successfully made myself a hat, which I made while I was feeling kind of stressed out about music stuff. So your side hustles and your little side hobbies can help you.
Overall, whether you plan to go into music or not, don't drop it. It's a really beautiful thing, and you get to share your art with other people. So even if you're not planning on pursuing music post high school, you can at least keep it as a hobby, because don't lose it. I've talked to a lot of adults who dropped music after high school and they regretted it. But if you do want to go into music as a career, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
Yes.
I think that wraps up our time for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to, drop a like.
What the? Wow.
I'm going to upload it to YouTube.
I mentioned the Mr. Beast thing, and
Yes.
she ran with it.
Or if not, it's okay. You could also subscribe to my channel, but I never post on here.
Wait, if we're doing that, then we should drop our socials, even though we probably won't let you follow us, because all our accounts are private or non-existent.
Yeah, he doesn't have one. My socials will be there. They'll be on the end card.
I'm on, my name is Gianna_Smiles on Instagram.
Even though she probably won't accept
I
you.
probably won't accept you.
Yeah,
though,
enjoy.
But still. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
So does that wait? You never established.
That means she gets to
Wait, we
choose.
never established.
You just beat me in rock paper scissors. You don't. We still don't know who's going first.
My hijinks have already started.
Be on the lookout for the virtuoso.